Her mouth opened, not to scream, to speak. But the voice that came out was not hers. It was lower, older, wet with cave water and centuries of patience. "He found the knife," she said. "Now he belongs to me." The archive does not explain. It only records. It recorded the iron blade temperature dropping to 41 degrees at 2:47 p.m. on August 12th, the exact moment Marcus Whitfield's fingers closed around the handle beside the Red River. It recorded every bird within the Bell Witch Cave property falling silent in the same breath. It recorded a sound the tourists' phones could not categorize. A woman's laugh, muffled, rising from beneath the limestone, as if something entombed since 1817 had finally felt sunlight on its tongue. This is case file number 113. The Bell Witch Cave, Adams, Tennessee. Do you want to know what it heard? Viewer discretion is advised. Marcus heard his name from the riverbank. The rain had just begun. The Red River moved slow and brown between the leaning trees. His sister Patricia needed a knife for Lily's apples, and he had volunteered for the walk back to the truck. The shortcut along the water was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that presses against your eardrums like a held breath. Then his name. Spoken soft. A woman's voice. Familiar in a way that made his stomach drop before his brain understood why. He turned. No one there. Just rain dimpling the surface. Just red mud slick along the bank. And something gleaming in the wet earth, a knife. Iron-handled. Old. The blade was impossibly clean, polished to a mirror finish, as if someone had been waiting for him to arrive. The handle bore carved initials worn smooth by centuries, KB. Marcus picked it up. The cold was not the cold of rain or river water. It was subterranean cold. Cave cold. It burned up his wrist and settled in the marrow of his forearm, like something making itself at home. His fingers locked around the handle. He told himself it was curiosity. He did not drop it. At the picnic tables, Patricia took the knife. Her fingers brushed the handle, and for one frame, one flicker, her expression changed. Revulsion. Recognition. Then nothing. She sliced the apple into wedges. Lily laughed. The rain fell harder. They ate fast. The storm was darkening into something territorial. By the time they reached the trucks, the sky hung low and yellow-green like an old wound. Marcus carried Lily against his chest, the knife loose in a bag with umbrellas and leftovers. As he fumbled for the door handle, the knife slipped, dropped point down in the mud. He grabbed for it without thinking. The blade opened his palm from lifeline to wrist. Black blood welled up in the stormlight. It dripped into the Tennessee soil, and the soil drank it. The cut was deep. It should have screamed. But Marcus felt only the cold spreading, wrist to elbow, elbow to shoulder, a numbness like being slowly lowered into dark water. He wrapped his hand in a napkin and climbed into the truck. He did not mention the cold. He did not mention that his reflection in the passenger window was smiling, even though his face was not. The drive back to Nashville took 3 hours. The storm made sure of it. Rebecca, Nora, and Andrew sat in the back of the second truck, and all three felt the weight simultaneously, a pressure on the roof, as if something sat cross-legged above them. Andrew's hands shook. Nora began sentences she could not finish. We should, in the other truck. Marcus stared out the windshield. Lily slept in his lap, His lips moved soundlessly, forming words no one could hear. His bandaged hand dripped a thin line of blood onto the floor mat, and the blood was not pooling. It was crawling toward the door seam, toward the outside, as if trying to return to atoms. Patricia opened the door at a gas station and screamed. David pulled Marcus from the truck. They unwrapped the napkin. The cut had not clotted. The flesh around the wound had gone gray, the gray of river silt, of something drowned and recovered too late. Beneath the skin, something shifted. A slow ripple. A pulse that did not match Marcus's heartbeat. "Marcus," David gripped his brother's shoulders. "What is wrong with your hand?" Marcus looked down. He studied the gray flesh. He watched the pulse move beneath his skin, like something adjusting its position. "I can't feel my arm," he said. "I can't feel it at all. They should have driven to a hospital. They should have thrown the knife into the Red River and watched it sink. Instead, they got back in the trucks. The storm herded them north toward Nashville, and the radio played only static, and in the static, Caroline, 16, watching from the back seat, thought she heard a woman humming. A lullaby. Words she almost recognized. At 3 a.m., Eleanor Whitfield woke with a thirst like stones in her throat. She walked to the kitchen, poured water, and heard voices from the garage, the converted room where Marcus had been staying since his divorce. A man's voice, "Marcus," and a woman's, "Hi, sweet," speaking a language that sounded like water moving through limestone fissures. Eleanor pressed her ear to the door. The woman laughed. "Marcus, who is in there with you?" Silence. Then his voice, flat and hollow, "Go back to bed, mother." "I'm sleeping. I heard someone. I'm sleeping." But beneath his words, a half-beat behind, another voice, feminine, amused, echoed the same syllables. "I'm sleeping." Eleanor's hand closed on the doorknob. The metal was ice. She let go. She walked back to her bedroom, knelt beside the bed, and prayed until the light came gray through the curtains. By morning, Marcus's skin had changed. The gray had spread. His face looked dredged from the bottom of a river. The wound on his hand had opened wider, not torn but peeled, the edges curling back like a mouth preparing to speak. Inside the opening, something dark glistened and pulsed, pressing against the flesh as if testing its strength. Thomas Whitfield arrived from Knoxville that afternoon. He saw his brother. He walked directly to the garage, found the knife in Marcus's bag, and held it to the light. The blade was still cold, colder than the air. It leached warmth from his fingers through the handle. The initials, KB. He searched the Bell Witch records on his phone, found what he needed in a county document from 1817. Kate Batts, the woman who cursed John Bell unto death. The woman whose grudge outlived her body. The woman whose corpse was interred with a single iron knife, her favorite possession, the one she used for everything from cutting meat to carving her initials into the Bell family's fence posts. And when her grave was robbed in 1821, the knife was the only thing missing. It had been waiting for 200 years, for someone to bleed on its blade and complete the contract. Thomas dropped the knife on the kitchen table. It rang against the wood like a tuning fork. From the garage, Marcus began to laugh, a high, sweet, feminine sound that did not belong in a man's throat. "We need a priest," Thomas said. Father Michael Brennan was 68 years old, a diocesan exorcist. He had been called to Tennessee twice before, and both times he had left pieces of himself behind. He did not enter the garage immediately. He walked the perimeter. He pressed his palm flat against the door. When he opened his eyes, something thin and dark ran from them, Not tears, but a fluid that smelled of wet limestone and ancient grief. "It's not in him," Father Brennan said. "It's attached." The knife opened a passage. His blood sealed the terms. Kate Batts has been waiting in that cave, bodiless, patient as stone, for someone to carry her across the threshold. Marcus brought her home. She is not possessing him. She is wearing him. The difference matters. What happens when she's finished? Thomas asked. Father Brennan did not answer. He did not need to. The exorcism took 9 hours. Father Brennan placed the family inside a circle of consecrated salt in the living room. Whatever you hear, whatever name it calls, do not step outside this circle. Faith has shielded you so far. It will not shield you if you choose to leave. He brought Marcus into the garage. Marcus sat in a wooden chair with his hands folded in his lap, wearing a smile that was not his, too wide, too sweet, the smile of a dead woman delighted to be seen again. "Hello, priest." The voice came from Marcus's mouth but was not Marcus's. It was lighter, older, amused. "You're a long way from Rome." The Latin filled the room like smoke. The temperature crashed. Condensation froze on the windows in fern patterns. The walls began to weep, dark, cold streaks running down the plaster. And beneath the Latin, Caroline heard her uncle's chest produce a second voice, a woman singing. A lullaby. Old and lilting, matching the priest word for word, as if Kate Batts had memorized every exorcism rite 200 years ago and had been waiting to sing along. Marcus's body began to change. His jaw unhinged with a wet crack. His fingers bent backward. His spine curved until he was arched over the chair like a question mark. And from his throat came a voice that shook the foundation. "I was here before your God, before your churches, before the first prayer fouled this soil. John Bell cheated me in life, so I took his life. Then I waited. 200 years in the dark, beneath the limestone, patient as roots. And this man picked up my knife. This man bled into my ground. This man belongs to me." Father Brennan did not retreat. "I bind you by the blood of the Lamb. I command you, depart this vessel. Return to the cave. Return to the silence that held you." The thing laughed. It was the worst sound Caroline had ever heard, intimate and knowing. A laugh between old enemies who understand each other perfectly. "I will leave him," Kate said, "but not because you command it. I will leave because this body is breaking. I will leave because I have found what I wanted, a bridge, a doorway, a family with blood already spilled, and a child who still prays before bed. I learned their names while they slept. I whispered them back. I have been patient for 200 years, priest. I can wait a little longer." The vapor rose, black, dense, cold as subterranean air. It coiled above Marcus for one long moment. Then it fled through the window, across the yard, toward the north. Toward Adams. Toward the cave mouth that breathes cold even in August. Marcus collapsed. He was alive. But his eyes were not the eyes of a man saved. They were the eyes of a man given a temporary stay, and he knew it. For 3 days, Marcus improved. He ate. He spoke in his own voice. But he was not whole. He stood in corners, facing the wall. He pressed his bandaged hand against the window every night at 3 a.m., looking north. Caroline would hear him whispering, "Catherine, Catherine, Catherine." On August 28th, he said he had a headache. "I'm going to lie down." They found him an hour later, kneeling beside the bed, facing north. His hands folded in prayer, but his lips pressed to the floor. Beneath his mouth, drawn in river mud that had not been there before, mud that smelled of limestone and deep water, were 3 words. I went to her. The coroner ruled it cardiac arrest. The family did not argue. They told no one about the knife, the vapor, the voice that had spoken through Marcus's throat. Some truths cannot be explained to people who have not heard the Bell Witch laugh. But Caroline wrote her account. She ended it with this: "My uncle did not die of natural causes. He was summoned. The thing in the cave never released him. It waited until we believed we had won. Then it whispered his name from the dark, and he answered. I still hear her at night, when the wind comes from the north. She's not screaming. She's singing. A lullaby. And I think she's singing it to me." The Bell Witch Cave is still there. The limestone mouth still exhales cold air into the Tennessee summer. Park rangers still find offerings, coins, flowers, notes asking Kate Batts for mercy. The legend says she was a vengeful woman who cursed John Bell to death. The legend says her spirit resides in the cave. The legend is incomplete. The Bell family records never mention the knife, the iron-handled blade with KB carved into the bone. They never mention that Kate Batts was buried gripping it. They never mention that when her grave was robbed in 1821, the knife was the only thing taken. It resurfaced on August 12, 2024, on the bank of the Red River, glinting in the rain, waiting for a man named Marcus Whitfield to carry it home. If you find yourself in Robertson County after dark, and something gleams at the water's edge, do not touch it. Do not read the initials. Do not bleed on Tennessee soil. The cave is not a cave. It is a throat. And it has been singing the same lullaby for 200 years, waiting for someone to sing back. This is case file number 113. The Bell Witch Cave, Adams, Tennessee. Good night. If you have lost someone to a place that should have been empty, if a loved one returned from the woods changed, if you have heard your name called from a direction where no one was standing, send your account to contact.thedreadcodex@gmail.com. Your truth enters the archive. Your warning becomes part of the record. Until next time, may your roads stay lit at the right hours. May the people you love return from the dark unchanged. And if you ever find yourself on the banks of the Red River after midnight and something gleams at the water's edge, keep walking. Do not reach down. The cave remembers. The knife remembers. And some things have been waiting in the Tennessee dark since 1817, patient as limestone, hollow as a throat, ready to wear the face of someone you love and call you home to the mouth that never closes. Sweet dreams.